Hello everyone, I am Alex from howtodotech.com, and today I'm going to show you how to run Linux on either a Windows or Mac computer. Now maybe you've heard a little about Linux and you wanted to try it out, but you didn't want to buy a whole computer to put it on or possibly risk ruining your own computer. Well, don't worry, we're going to be doing this entirely alongside our main OS using VirtualBox. Okay, let's start. So there are going to be a couple things that you need to download before we do this tutorial. The first thing is Oracle's VirtualBox. Now, VirtualBox is really nice because it is open source, which means it's both free and whatever I do on my Windows PC will work exactly the same on a Mac or a Linux, all with different versions of that. So you can just hit downloads on the left over here, or if you click the link in our written tutorial linked down below, you can go directly to the downloads page and not have to worry about this introduction. Next, we have to download Ubuntu. Now, Ubuntu is a version of Linux. It's probably the most user-friendly version of Linux, so I highly suggest this is the one you use. It's going to be the one that I use, and from here, you're going to want to hit Ubuntu Desktop and go down and either select the latest version or the second latest version. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure you have 32-bit selected, not 64-bit. After you've downloaded both of those things, install VirtualBox completely. Don't worry about the Ubuntu, just remember where it is on your computer, and then once you've installed it, you'll have this window. Now, you won't have virtual machines on your left pane because this is the first time you're using VirtualBox. So you're going to hit New, and then from here, you're going to have to name your virtual machine. I'm going to call mine Ubuntu 2 because I already have a version of Ubuntu on my computer, and then you'll notice it automatically selects the virtual machine type and version because I've called it Ubuntu. Now, if you call this something like second computer or something along those lines, you're going to have to select type and version yourself. Make sure you select Ubuntu regular, not 64-bit, because you downloaded 32-bit. So after you've named it, select the type and version, hit next. From here, select the amount of RAM. Basically, what is going to happen is part of your RAM is going to work for Windows, and then part of your RAM is going to work for your virtual machine, in this case, Linux. Now, this green area is RAM that's probably safe to give to your virtual machine. Now, depending on how powerful your virtual machine is, there's going to be a required amount, and then you can just go on as much as you want. Use your judgment wisely. If you're not going to be doing a lot in this virtual machine, there's no need to go directly to the end of the green. If you're just trying it out, you might not want to add too much, but if you plan on doing a lot, maybe you're a Mac user who's running Windows and you might be running a lot of intensive games, you're going to want to go as far as you can. Now, this orange area is kind of the iffy area. Technically, it would work fine for your Windows or whatever your main OS is if it's Mac, but it might be a little unsafe to go up over that far. And then the red is just the don't go there zone because you're probably going to encounter problems on your computer. So I'm going to go to about 4,000 because I think that's pretty good. That's about half of my RAM. Yeah, 3893 will be fine. We'll go to next. Now we have to create a virtual hard drive. Now you can choose to not create a virtual hard drive, which is highly unrecommended because then your files are just going to be scattered. Or you can create a new virtual hard drive or use an existing one. I'm going to create a new one and hit create. Now from here you have different hard drive types. You can see I have VDI, which is a VirtualBox disk image. I can use virtual machine disk, which is kind of like a standard, I guess you could call it. A virtual hard disk, which is another type of standard, I guess. An HDD is a Parallels hard disk. Now, if you're using Mac, you've probably heard of Parallels before. And if you plan on buying Parallels sometime in the future, I just recommend you use HDD. VirtualBox can read it, and this way, when you do buy Parallels, you don't have to go through all of this installation again. You can just transfer over the hard disk directly to Parallels. So I'm going to stick with the VirtualBox disk image and hit next. From here, we can choose dynamically allocated or fixed size. No matter what, you're going to have to pick a maximum size. The difference is, under fixed size, that size you choose will be the full amount and it will always take up that space on your physical hard drive. So if I choose 25 gigabytes, the amount of free space on my hard drive is going to drop from, say, 150 gigabytes to 125 because that fixed size hard drive is taking up 25 gigabytes. The advantage of dynamically allocated means I will be able to choose, say, 50 gigabytes, but if the OS is only using, or the virtual machine is only using 25 gigabytes, it's only going to take up that much space until I reach that full 50, which will be the maximum size. So I'm going to keep dynamically allocated and hit next. From here, we can name it. I'm going to keep it with the name Ubuntu 2, and I'm going to choose the size. We're going to go up to 11 for the maximum size. Now remember, it's not going to use the full amount. It's just going to use as much as it needs. Hit create. Chances are you'll want to go a little bit bigger. I'm just using this for a demo, so I didn't go very high on my hard drive size. Now, once you have your virtual machine, you can highlight it and hit start. Now a black window is going to come up. It's going to say auto capture keyboard. I'm just going to hit OK. Now we need to select a startup disk. Chances are you didn't burn Ubuntu to a CD, which is kind of pointless because if we hit this folder on the right, I can go and find where I've downloaded Ubuntu, in this case to this folder, click it, it's going to show up looking kind of like a disk, and hit open. Now I can hit start, and it's going to start the virtual machine for me. Okay, so now that we have started Ubuntu, we are going to be going through the OS installation, which isn't really that bad. Very, very good step-by-step instructions. The most annoying thing are going to be these pop-up boxes. Things like mouse pointer integration, all of these you can just hit OK for, and I'll show you what they do for each one. Now, the mouse integration is basically when I'm in Windows, my mouse will show up in Windows. When I go into Ubuntu, my mouse will show up in Ubuntu. Now, since we're still installing, my mouse isn't shown. One thing I recommend doing is instead of having Ubuntu open in this window, I would recommend going full screen and just hit switch. Now in Windows, the default switching back key is going to be the right control key. That can be changed in your settings. Now from here, we have a choice. We can either try Ubuntu or install Ubuntu. We want to install Ubuntu. It's going to go through that checklist. You can choose to download updates while installing. I'm not just going to save time and hit continue. I can choose to erase the disk and install Ubuntu, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to hit yes and install now. Now, one of the cool things about Ubuntu Linux is you can choose a couple settings while the installation is taking place. This way, as soon as installation is done, you can just go right into your OS or your virtual machine. So I'm going to choose New York for my time zone, hit continue. I'm going to choose US English for my language. And now I can put in certain information. My name is going to be Alex. I can call this actual Alex VirtualBox, that's fine. And now I need to choose a password for my user. Let's do something different. Now, I know it's a weak password, but again, this is a virtual machine, so I'm really not worried. I'm not going to require the password because I will be the only user. Hit continue. Now, for the rest of the installation, Ubuntu is going to show us cool things like welcome to Ubuntu, tells me cool advertising, tells me about software, and tells me about fun with my photos, my own personal cloud, take your music with you, stay connected, browse the web, and write and present for free with Ubuntu's free version of Office, and customize Ubuntu, and then any questions. So now I'm going to just do a time lapse for the rest of this area for the installation. Okay, now at this point in the installation, it's going to ask me to restart my computer. I can just hit restart now. Now, you probably haven't noticed because I've just fast forwarded through the video for your convenience, but this took quite a while. So, probably closer to about 30 minutes, I would say, maybe a little less than that. So just set some time aside, walk away from your laptop, it'll be much better that way. You can technically still use your laptop while that's installing. It's really not going to be as quick for the installation process because you'll be using part of your processor for your computer and part of it for the virtual machine. Same thing with the RAM and everything. Your hard disk write speeds are really going to be affected, so it might not be as quick. So we saw that beautiful Ubuntu login setup earlier. Now we're just going to wait with the black screen until something pops up, and gray screen now. First boot can take a little bit. And finally, we have Linux Ubuntu loading very slowly. The Linux Ubuntu desktop, as it says right in the top left up there. So now that we have installed Ubuntu, we are not done yet, so don't click off the video just yet. You're going to want to either exit out or minimize. If you want to know how to turn off the machine, just go up to that settings icon at the top and hit shutdown. You're going to want to shut down your machine completely. And then from here, you can get out of the virtual machine and back to your VirtualBox window. We want to optimize this virtual machine a little bit to make it run perfectly on our computer. So when you have it selected, you can go to Settings. And there are going to be a couple settings we are going to go through. The first one is General. From here we have the name, we have the advanced and description. None of that really is important to the performance of the virtual machine. System is, though. We do have the boot order. You're going to want to change this. You can take off everything except the hard disk because that's totally self-sufficient now, so you can unselect everything except the hard disk. And if you felt the need to delete the Ubuntu disk image, that .iso image you downloaded, you can now because everything loads directly from the hard disk. You want to go to processor. Now you can choose the amount of CPUs you have. I have a dual core processor, so I'm just going to go with 3 CPUs. Now you can go up to 8. The dual core has 8. Quad core would change. And green, once again, the general rule of thumb, green is good. Red is not so good. And then you can also go under acceleration. I recommend you highlight these just in case your processor supports them. If not, you really don't have to worry about it. Lastly, go to networking. And you want to make sure your virtual machine is connected to the internet because that can be very helpful. Now, only adapter 1 is going to be selected, and right now it's just NAT. I'm going to change that to my bridged adapter because that is my Wi-Fi port that I use for this laptop. Once I do that, I hit OK, and now Ubuntu 2 will be connected to the internet. All of that optimization you can do beforehand, but it's not required to do beforehand. You can do it at the end. So we hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. Now, it was a very long one, so if you would like something to refer back to, there is a link in the description for a written version of this tutorial that you can read. It has the links for the downloads and very good step-by-step instructions. It goes down to about 10 steps and then a lot of waiting. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, show us you enjoyed this. Hit subscribe to be notified when we do have new videos. And you can click on one of the 5 categories, I believe there's 5, there could be 6, to go to one of our playlists for different videos that we have, so you can learn more about technology with us. Also, if you have any questions, because you probably do, you can put them in a comment down below or email us at howtodotechyt@gmail.com. So, I am Alex Bavolsik, and I will see you next time.